Connection, Japanisches Film Festival, Frankfurt am Main.
So, good morning, Europe, and even better and earlier morning, America, and good evening, Japan. Welcome to the 2021 Nippon Connection Film Festival. My name is Paweł Vlajcic from the film program team, and it's a great pleasure and honor to have the director of one of my favorite films from this year's festival, Witches of the Orient, Julien FARAUT, with us. Julien is joining us from Paris. Welcome.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for the invitation.
So good to have you with us. Julien, let me first start by saying I saw your first film in the realm of perfection in 2018 at the Berlinale. And the movie was about John McEnroe. It was about perfection pursuit in the game of tennis. How do you go from an American male tennis player to a Japanese female volleyball team? What did give the idea for the movie, and when did you know you had to make it?
Well, all my film as a source, as more a footage, a material rather than a subject. So this time, like the others, is the discovery of a footage that leads me to this new project. So more than 10 years ago, a French volleyball trainer came to me at the French Sport Institute, where I'm in charge of the film collection. And he bring me a 60mm can. So we watched the film, and I discovered for the first time the Witches of the Orient. So I was very impressed by what I saw, by the speed of their move, of their drills, by the intensity of their training session. And it reminded me all of a sudden of the Japanese anime I used to watch when I was a kid in the late 80s. And I was very impressed by how much they were alike. They're very close in terms of angles, frame composition, and so I was very surprised that although everyone know about what we call in French Jeanne et Serge, but the original Japanese name was Atakayu.
Okay.
It was produced in 1984 or maybe 83, but it was broadcast in France in 1987 on French TV, and so it was based on a true story. It was inspired by a true story, and I discovered that Atakayu was not the only one, but only a name amongst a long list of anime and manga that were inspired by the Witches of the Orient. So I really like. It was a pure discovery, and yes. So I started thinking of making a film out of it, and that's how all the story started.
Okay, maybe just to add, it of course the anime version was also shown in Germany as well, and I watched it as a kid as well. And in Germany, the name was Mila.
Yeah.
There's a catchy theme song.
I think it's the Italian. You got the Italian version.
Ah, okay.
Mila was and in Spain it was Sergio Julieta. Juana and Sergio, and in France, Jeanne et Serge, very French names.
Yeah, but because for me it was also super surprising, because I used to watch it as a kid as well, and I had no idea before seeing your film that it was that there was a real volleyball team that served as an inspiration for the anime. So yeah, that was great. Maybe as a general question, was it difficult to get the original Witches of the Orient to participate in the movie? How did you go about approaching the cast?
Well, it was quite difficult. It took us almost 1 year to geolocalize them because I really started from scratch. I have no contact with them, but we finally found the first person that um, helped us to get in touch with the players, and I knew from that point that I have to face two main issues. The first one was the generation issues, let's say, because I'm 42 and the youngest player, the youngest witches is 73, so more or less the age of my mother. And of course, I don't speak a word of Japanese, so to face these two main issues, I'm chosen to work with a French translator, a well-known French translator, Catherine Cadou, who has almost the same age. She belongs to the same generation, and she used to live in Japan. She attended, she went to the Olympic Games of 1964, and she knew Catherine very well, the customs and habits of Japanese people. So she helps me. She was very helpful to create this contact and to get familiar with them. And so we were in touch first by emailing them, and Catherine was phoning them also to get some news. And then we planned to go to Japan for our first meeting. It was in June 2019, and I was really concerned about not bothering them too much, and so I tried to be very polite and not to act like the TV crew that just come into your house with the camera and lighting and asking you a question and answer it now. So we decided to only record the audio for our first meeting, just to know each other smoothly and gently. And we went back to Japan the same year during autumn in October and November to shoot for the shooting. And I asked all the witches, the players, to tell me where they would be pleased to be filmed. So I really want them to choose the location of their of each settings, and so yeah, it was not an easy task, but it was really it was great to do this kind of quest and to find them, and it was really enjoyable too.
Yes, and I also thought it was interesting, the idea that they all sit in the hotel or in the lobby in the circle and have lunch. Was it yours or was it theirs?
No, it was definitely mine, because I want to create a gathering moment, a place and a time where they can just meet all together, and just because meals and food in general are very important in Japan. It's the same in France, so this is one of our common points. So around a meal and during the time of a meal, I knew that I can just capture real moments, sharing moments, gathering moments. So it looks like also like a witches' Sabbath, a witches' meeting. And I don't know if it was the case from the start, but quickly it reminds me of the opening of the Reservoir Dogs film, the Quentin Tarantino's film.
Okay.
I really like that because they were super strong women, and some of them were yeah, were very impressive. And it looks like Mr. Blue,
Mr.
Mr. Red, Mr. White, and I really like that to meet those grandmother, but that feels very strong and healthy.
Yeah, and of course, every one of them is maybe just like in Reservoir Dogs, is a certain type of personality, and that comes through also in the film quite well. Maybe while we're at the topic of community and sharing, because you talked food is very important, to help them relax. The setting was important to help them relax, to enjoy something together. I mean, your previous film and the film now are both concerned with commitment in a way in the world of sports, with perfection in a way. I mean, the Witches also wanted to be perfect. However, of course, the John McEnroe movie is focused on an individual, and here we have a whole group of people. Maybe you can tell how maybe that changed your approach to filmmaking. Did that play a significant role?
Yeah, for sure. Oh. Sorry about that. Technical.
Yeah, no worries.
In the John McEnroe's project, I found amazing footages, and I really didn't feel any need to meet him or ask him for any interview, because I wish to show him as a tennis player on the court, and have no need for him to explain, to talk. It was not my aim, my desire. In this case, it's quite the opposite. When I started reading about the Witches of the Orient, I feel that there was a real lack of testimony from them, and I wish to, from the start, my desire was to meet them and to give them the opportunity to tell their story by their own. I didn't want to add comment on other comments, and because sometimes the story could be a bit touchy with especially with their relationship with the trainer. So it was important that they can just talk themselves on themselves, and not adding any observation or comment on it. And of course, the fact that it's not an individual but a group of people is very challenging. It's very challenging because in literature or in cinema, it's it's much easier to feel close to a person, to a single person, to an individual, and it's very difficult to get close to a group. So it was very challenging, but I felt also that their story was very a collective story. So I choose to build the film as a choral storytelling, with them telling each piece of their chronological story, and I don't focus too much on their individual difference, and I choose to tell the collective story rather than all the individual stories. And I knew that it was more challenging, but it fits better with this story, because it's I think it's very Japanese to this commitment you mentioned, and this collective effort. Yeah, that's how I feel it matched better to the subject, and I have to do a film that really looked like the reality of this story.
Yes, it's a polyphony of voices in a way that come together as one in the end. Towards the end, we also get some replacement players shown. Did you contact them at the same time, or you know, some witches who came later to the teams, or how was the process there?
We were in contact with the substitute very early in the process, and they were Chiba-san and Chinozaki-san were very talkative and very interesting to hear, because substitutes were less exposed, and they were less they didn't have the opportunity to talk to the press or to the public. And of course, in the collective sports, substitutes played a very important role, and this dimension was, I think, very interesting and important. So I choose to include them because they were also very interesting women. And so if I take the whole team, the starting players were 6. 2 of them already passed away. The captain and Isobe-san, they passed away. One of them was not in condition, and so we just phoned her. That's the sequence where the player just gave a call to her. And so we have the 3 starting players, and I choose to add 2 more substitutes because their trajectory and story also was very important to in the life of the group, of the team, of the squad. How you became a starting player or substitute, and I think it's one of the main difference between Japan and Europe. I can't speak for Germany, but I can speak for sure for France, and it's one of the main issue for trainer to manage the substitute in a team in a team sports, because when you play a World Cup or the Olympic Games, you are amongst the best players of your country, so you don't feel yourself like a second class player, but you are involved in this main event, but you are not the starting player. So it's very difficult for to manage this, to keep the energy and the commitment of those substitutes. But in Japan, I discovered that it is quite different. It was not considered like this, and they accept from the start this situation without arguing or questioning it all the time. And I think in France, we are always questioning and arguing. Why am I a substitute? I want to be that. No, there is no, and it can be. So this is 2 different models, 2 way of management, and I think the 2 have their efficiency. And in Japan, I think it's efficient because you don't waste time to argue and comment, and everybody knows what he has to do. So I think it's very efficient.
Yes. I just wanted to let our viewers, of course, know you can always send questions to Julien, and we already received the first one, which is quite good because it's something that I also wanted to ask. Maybe I will read it, Julien. It's from an anonymous viewer. Sorry if my question is a bit open-ended. One of the greatest things for me was the ambivalence with which the film recounts the events. I still don't know if I should be impressed or depressed. On the one hand, you clearly have admiration for the players and their achievements are impressive. On the other hand, the witches didn't seem overly proud of their achievement. The training seemed abusive, especially because they've been somewhat stripped of their individuality by way of coach decided nicknames, the broken rib part, etc. But again, on the first hand, the witches don't seem to mind, which is almost the most depressing for me. What is your take on that? Yeah, I will let you answer because there is a certain ambivalence there as well, and also in the presence of Daimatsu, the trainer. But I will let you answer the viewer question, Julien.
Yeah, of course, it's there is ambiguity, and but we have to replace maybe the players in their contest. Those women belongs to a different generation, and they are not used to show off, to be on the spotlight. So they are not super enthusiastic, and it was very challenging for me because when I did those interviews, they kept saying that it was normal, nothing special. So I said, no, this is special, but I think it's just relevant to a certain generation, and that's why they didn't seem to be very enthusiastic or showing off, and yeah, there is no. It's a common point. It's usual for this kind of for those women from this generation. The ambiguity lies in the fact that, of course, the training session were very harsh and hard, but that's why I decided to give them the lead on the voiceover. When I start to read articles from the 60s and also more recent communication by academics, I really feel something wrong and bad about it, because Westerners, observers and journalists were shocked by the intensity of their training, and they pretended to speak in the name of women freedom, dignity, or emancipation. But I was questioning myself and said, I didn't know which was the more progressist or the more conservative in this case, because in France, in the 60s, women were able to do whatever they want. They can drink alcohol, but not too much. They can't get drunk like men. They were able to practice some sports, but not too much. They don't have to get too much muscles and to get hurt. And in this case, Westerners just face women, a group of women that train too much without any Westerners women practice sparingly, but not too much. And in this case, they were shocked by, no, they train like men. So I thought it was very interesting to know more about this experience. We can consider the Witches of the Orient as real pioneers of contemporary high-level sports for women, because now it's the standard. Women are training as much as men. So I discovered that those women were healthy. They were some of them still play volleyball, which is not usual. Many of high-level athletes, when they retired, just stop everything and never go back to their practice, because they were disgusted sometimes and they can't bear anymore their sport. And when I discovered and when I knew that the witches still play volleyball, I thought it was something relevant. It was not, they were not injured. They were healthy women. And maybe one last comment on it. to be perfectly clear, I remember reading the words of an academic that discovered that Daimatsu suffered from female mistreatment in his prisoner of war camp, because he was a prisoner of war camp in a British camp, and the British chose to place a female officer to be in charge of the Japanese prisoner, and he suffered from humiliation and harassment. I don't know. So the academics just conclude that that's the reason why he wants to have revenge, and because he was mistreated by women, he wants to be mean against other women. But I really don't agree with this suggestion and proposition, because I asked two questions. I asked myself two questions. If Daimatsu would have been humiliated by men officers rather than women officers, would he, are you sure that he would have be more gentle and more smooth in his training session and process? I don't think so. And if he were if he has to train a men team, do you think he also train in a different way? I don't think so. I think this interpretation was very was a nonsense, actually. But I have to be sure of that. And by asking the players themselves, I discovered that the majority of those women were fatherless, which is unusual. Almost all the team members were fatherless. So Daimatsu was play a huge role for them. And I just discovered that those women were real high-level athletes. And we have to think of high-level athletes as a different kind of people. They are not usual and common people in terms of commitment, in terms of courage and strong will. And many of other Nichibo employee play volleyball, but only a very few women could handle and accept this very strong training program. So if they choose to, I think that we discover in their testimony that it was their choice. They said that they chose to follow him because they knew that this trainer would be able to lead them to the top ranking, to the gold medal. And I really don't think of them as a victim, but rather as true high-level sports women. Although it could be confusing because the training is very hard. But when you are familiar with the standard in high-level sports, this is not sport for your leisure, for your pleasure. It's a very hard world, and they just show for the first time in the 50s and the 60s that women were able to train that much, and they have those wonderful results, sporting results. So their achievement was just a reward of their very unusual commitment.
Yes, I would agree because I never got I still got the feeling from your film that they were also quite proud and quite happy of their achievements and accomplishments. It's not an effusive praise where but it's but for me it was still quite there. And also when they are talking about Daimatsu, it's you know, there is a certain ambivalence there, but they don't talk badly about him. There's also some low level because he was apparently quite the looker. There's also maybe a sexual component to that, but you know, I don't want to go too deep. We have a second question from the audience. In Ichikawa Kon's footage of the 1964 Olympics, the female players showed a range of emotions at the awards ceremony, but the trainer showed no emotion. Please discuss these emotional responses. It's a question from Linda Ehrlich.
Yeah, I was also very surprised by this ending in a special way, because when I watched for the first time this sequence, this scene where you can see the trainer seated on his bench, and he knew that he was winning the gold medal, but he almost showed no way of happiness, of in the basic DNA, Japanese DNA, you are not expressing yourself like a showman, but it was unusual, and I was very touched by this scene, because I understood that Daimatsu is sad. I don't know if you can remember, but you can see that he's trying to hide his tears. He has a small gesture. He wants to show not to show that he's crying, so he's a bit ashamed of it. I think at that time he knew that it was the end. It was the end of the story. That's why he was crying and was a bit sad. He was also very proud, for sure, but he knew that most of the players will retire, and maybe he will go back to a more normal and family life. So he was a bit depressed because, yeah, it's the end of a long journey. So I try to convey this feeling with the special music. Maybe we can discuss it later with just a little bit. I think the music is very bring this sense of melancholia and nostalgia, and how Daimatsu react was not was very human, and I think it's a new example that he was very keen and very close to them, and that he loved the players very much. He is very sad. He just achieved their goals, and he should have been very happy about it, but he really knew that it's also the end of the story. So I think it's a very beautiful moment, and I really like. It's one of the main, one of the very important image of the film, for sure.
Super, thank you, Julien. We have the next question, and it's also quite good because I also wanted to talk a bit about the technical aspects of your film, because I find they're also very important. And we have a question from Henrik Diels. He said the intertitles have a distinct 60s vibe. For that, did you have any direct references in mind, especially in reference to the players' profiles at the beginning? And maybe we can take that to jump into the general discussion of the materials that you used in the film.
The process was, I really worked step by step. So the first step was audio recordings. And I knew that it will become my voiceover. So after that, I tried to find the footage to show the actual event, the real event. So I found this beautiful film, The Price of Victory, to show the factory life and the training at the Nichibo textile factory. So I knew that it would be a sequence. I need to find footage for their first world title in Moscow in 1962. So we preserve in the French Sport Institute 2 films, a Russian films and a French films on this event. Then I try to find more additional materials on their hard training. And then, of course, the Olympic materials for the Olympic final. So that was step 2. I have my footage blocks. And also I missed the reconstruction sequence with this beautiful footage of how Japan recovered after Second World War II. Then I have to find the location for the shooting. And let's enter a very technical and practical editing. When I try to edit, for instance, the final of the World Championship in 1962, the Russian film I had was quite short, and the game between Japan and Soviet Union was maybe 2 or 3 minutes long, and the edition was weird, and I tried to find and to rebuild the real rallies between the 2 teams with a service, reception, and attack and defense, and a point. And footage were missing. I didn't have any enough materials. So so came this idea of including the anime in the editing. It was not a super intelligent idea I had in mind. It was just a way to solve a technical problem for me, because some footage were missing. And because anime and footage were very much alike in terms of frame and composition, I just add the anime to fill in the blank, the gaps between two shots of the footage. And then the film started to build, but because I didn't write any voiceover, and because most of the people of the audience didn't know about the Witches story, I choose to add some titles like silent films, just to articulate and to help the audience also to understand better the trajectory, the journey of the witches, because I didn't know what the answer would be. I just discovered, like you, my own voiceover, because this was my choice. They're gonna be in charge of the voiceover, so they didn't talk about everything. Sometimes they were not maybe clear, or expensive, or very talkative, or I don't know, whatever. So the titles helped me to just also to do like chapters and helping the audience to go through this long story and journey. And well, I don't know if I really answered the question, but yeah, it was the process was I really work step by step and try to build. You mentioned this name polyphony, which is I think a good expression and word to express this multi-layered editing. Yeah.
Okay, maybe you can talk about the music as well. How did you choose the music, and how was the process for that?
For the music, the very first experience was the editing of the hard training session sequence, and so I started to play with this kind of mashup between footage and anime, and it worked very well. But because I cut the materials, I had a need for a sound, for music that just to help me interweaving the two, and it was, yeah, more or less a coincidence, because when I started when I was working on it, the same days Portishead released their third album. I just listened to this new opus, and I was very impressed by the machine gun track. And because in this sequence we saw Daimatsu bombing the players with a ball.
Yeah.
The machine gun sound really looks great.
It's impressive.
And, yeah, and it works very well. Also because the singer Bess Gibbons brings something feminine, something a woman dimension, and the song is very powerful, but her voice is also introverted and not weak, but fragile. And I think it was beautiful to watch those women that accept this very hard training, and they are almost they are exhausted, and it brings a very dramatic with the relationship with the music and Bess Gibbons' voice, and so it really rocked well. And so I discovered later that it was leading me to a kind of musical direction, which is I would say analog synthesizer. And I thought it was a great idea, because analog synthesizer remind us of a retro, let's say a retro futuristic mood or dimension. And in Japan in the 60s, it looks like very futuristic with the first robots, all the small electronics, but of course nowadays those 60s looked like a bit old, not old-fashioned, but it's not futuristic anymore. And the analog synths with their weakness and it's very it's not perfect. It's shaky and extra. I think it was something that helped me to build the other music and tracks. So I did myself 2 other track for the factory sequence and for the World Championship, where I used Japanese keyboards, Roland keyboards, analog synths. And then for the end, I didn't want to to have this burden on my shoulder, because it was too much responsibility to make this music myself. So I tried to find someone that could create something new and powerful. And for the reason I already mentioned, this very melancholic and nostalgic sequence with Daimatsu, as sad and happy at the same times, I have in mind the work of Jason Little, the leader of the band Granddaddy, because he really mastered this mood of melancholia. So I just tried the first edition with a Granddaddy's track, and it fits. It works very well. And I asked afterwards Jason Little if he would be okay to create an original score, and he accepted. And I'm very, very grateful to him, because I also asked him if he would be okay to create not only a track but a song, and his singing is very important, because usually in documentaries, and especially in sports documentary, you include like music library, so very impersonal music. And the fact that those two great musicians, Bess Gibbons and Jason Little, add their voice, actually it plays the role of my voiceover. It brings not only a sound wallpaper, so to speak, but it has a real content, and it helps you to understand better the sequence. So that's the whole music direction.
Great. Yeah, I mean that's what I found so impressive about the film, that it's formally so well made and interesting made, and also adventurous, and it's not like a lot of other documentaries where it's just content focused. I mean, there's a lot of content here, of course, but it's also presented to us in a way that's formally very sophisticated and also challenging. Let me see, we have some additional questions. The music is fantastic. Oh, will the original score be released as an album?
The French distributor, UFO, is used to release a small a single for each of the film they have they distributed, they released. So this time they will press a small vinyl with only the two original track by Jason Little. So I don't know how you could access to it, but they will press a small amount of vinyl for the French territory, but I don't know if that a German distributor have choose to distribute the film in Germany, maybe can do the same. So it's yes and a no. I don't know. It's clear, but maybe in the UK they try to release also only a single of the Jason Little production.
Okay, and then we have another question from Linda Ehrlich. Is it possible to purchase this film with English subtitles to show in a university class? I assume you are still doing the festival circuit and the physical release is not yet happened?
Well, we already know that for a release, a theatrical release in the UK, in the USA and in France. So it's already planned and scheduled. 9 July in New York, 16 July in UK, and the 21st of July, sorry, for France. So I don't know how far is the discussion with the German territory, but it's in this process. As you said, with the festival circuit, we have a new acquisition, and we have an international seller that deal with every countries for distribution. I think in Switzerland we had a distributor, so I don't know yet about Germany, but if we are lucky, and if I am lucky, maybe in Germany we'll be able to watch. And but for the DVD or for the physical, it was the question was about the DVD purchase.
Yes, if it can be purchased, yeah.
Not yet, for sure, because you have to find to end the festival circuit, and then the theatrical circuit, and then maybe the VOD would come, and the DVD and or Blu-ray release will come afterwards. But I think you will be able, for sure, but you have to wait maybe for a few months. At the end of the year, I guess.
Usually when we have a physical festival here, we also have a DVD shop. So next year, Nippon Connection, we will be more than happy to stock it here.
It's a good idea. Thank you.
Thank you, Julien. Julien, maybe just I wanted to ask, I mean, I love the way you're doing documentaries. They're like really different. And I just wanted to ask whether you have any future projects planned.
Maybe I have one, but it's very, very, it's too early to
say something.
Yeah, to tell you that it will be my next film, but it's not on an individual nor on a team sports. It's more about training, so it's more general, and I'm interested in mental imagery in training.
Sounds promising. Maybe I will just, we have no further questions, I will give you the opportunity to talk about anything that I might have missed, or even if I said something wrong, to correct me during this hour, or just maybe if you want to talk about some aspect of the film that we haven't touched upon yet that you think is important.
Well, maybe we can have some new questions. I don't know. Did you read every question?
Yes.
Okay. Well, to conclude on the way on my way of making films, and I think I have too much respect for cinema and love for cinema. To not focus only on the content, for sure. And when I start working on a subject, on a new story, on a new content, I keep trying to find the best way to talk about this subject in a way that is revealing this subject. So this film is very multi-layered and polyphonic. Also because the story of the Witches of the Orient is very, very connected to Japanese society of the post-World War II, and the fact that they were employed by a textile factory, which was a major industry for Japan, the way Japan succeed in recovering so fast and so efficiently, because it's amazing to watch Tokyo in 1945 with ruins and a no man's land in this beautiful American footage, black and white silent footage, and then see like 20 years after that, skyscrapers, super fast trains, mini TV robots, and etc. So the collective effort and commitment of Japan is of course embodied in this volleyball team. So I choose not only to do this interweaved edition, was not only my pleasure, but also I think it was the right answer to this subject, the right way to express that those women were very they're connected to their times and to Japan in the 50s and 60s, and they are just telling the story of the whole country, and everything is connected in the sports achievement, response to the industrial and social efforts that Japan has to do for this super fast rebuilding, economic rebuilding, but also social rebuilding, reconstruction. So I really love this story because of this multi-layered aspects, and of course the anime and manga's dimension is also something I really like, because of the confusion between fiction and reality. The fact that the Witches of the Orient has this beautiful nickname, individual nickname, but also the team nickname, really bring this true story into the fictional world, because they looks like the Witches of the Orient. It's a real fiction, and the fact that we knew better in Europe the anime rather than the true story. Everything is mixed up, and new players. I know that in France the French Volleyball Association has to welcome a huge amount of new players when the anime was broadcasted, and so it creates, and the new players try to become the anime characters, but the anime characters were inspired by true players. For in Attacker You, I don't know if you remember it. So it was your Mila. In France, the trainer was named Diamond.
Oh, like demon.
Yeah. So it really, so Diamond. Of course, it sounds like demon, which was the nickname of Daimatsu, the demon coach. So we come from many wink, and yeah, I really love this confusion, and I know that in Japan, still nowadays, most of the new mangas and anime about volleyball are mainly, maybe 9 out of 10 are women volleyball team rather than men volleyball team. So just how you can imagine that how the Witches of the Orient still has an influence on this manga tradition focused on women's sports manga. So they play a huge role because of their popularity in Japan.
I just looked up. He was called Mr. Hongo in Germany.
Okay, Mr. Hongo.
No demon.
No diamond.
No diamond. Yeah, and just what maybe one last thing for me, because I was really struck when you were when we got these images from the games, these mashups with animated scenes, how because I always thought, you know, it would be impossible to do the things that Mila does in the cartoon, because it was so, you know, almost, you know, fantastical. But then when you look at side by side, it's really quite not almost realistic in a way, because they really were that good, the witches.
Yeah, it's really the story of their nicknaming, the fact that the Soviets nicknamed them the witches was because they were they were smaller. Of course, Japanese people are less tall than Russian and Soviet one, and so Daimatsu knew that it was a real weakness. So he started thinking of new techniques to play against the Soviet Union, and he started to play more with speed, with many moves, and he created this wonderful kite and receive, which is the rolling reception. When you have to save a ball, sometimes the receiver capped and touched the ball, but is falling down, so he has he's not available for the rally anymore. And in the kite and receive techniques, because you are saving the ball, you are receiving the ball and pass the ball to your teammates, but you go back to your feet, so you can be the first, the next players to play the ball. So you are almost you are instantly available for the game, and it was something very new. And also the service, the way they serve was very new. So the Soviets, they can't believe their eyes. They say, what does small players running everywhere, saving all our attacks and serving like in a way that we didn't know before. So this secret weapon dimension is very, very present in all the animes, all the Japanese anime. All the teams has to have a secret weapon and special tricks to win games, and that was something very very present, and I think that it really inspired all the mangas and anime that follow afterwards the true story of the witches.
Great, thank you, Julien, for the insightful interview, for the wonderful film. Any last words? Or
well, no, thank you. I'm very happy and grateful to you, and thank you for your invitation. And I hope that the Nippon Connection will run well this year, even if it's not physical. And I wish you the best.
The same to you, and looking forward to see your next film. Thank you, Julien.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Yeah. Have a good day too. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.